Hey guys, my name's Gustavo Perez,
My name is James McCarg.
and we are from Lab Section AYU for CS 125, and this is our final project.
Yeah, our app is called Pathfinder. It's a run planning app. So if you want to plan out a route for, let's say, if you wanted to go on a run in advance, then you could plot out a route and in advance know exactly how long that route is. So, if you're a runner, you know that you want to run specific distances, like you might want to run a 5K or you might want to run a 10K. So with this app, you could place down points and know exactly how long your route is.
Yeah. So when you first open the app, you're going to be popped up with the whole world map. It's going to ask you for your permission to access your location. In our case, we already did that, so it doesn't ask us. But when we bounce to our location, as you can see right now, we're going to go straight to Siebel. So the app lets you, like we said, pinpoint, add points to the map that'll track the distance between them, and it lets you just plan out your run. So you just tap anywhere to add the points after touching the pencil button, and let's say like that little chunk right there is 0.21 miles. So you can run that app right there. You can run through the whole thing right there, or you can insert points also. It's another feature.
So you can place down a point and then insert it into the middle of the run, or you can just use the eraser if you wanted to, delete any part of the route out, and every single time you do that, it will automatically update the distance.
Yeah, so pretty straightforward UI. It's not that difficult to understand. Another thing that we added is a stopwatch. So let's say you planned your route already and you're going to run it. Just hit the start button, start the timer. Go through your run. If you want to stop at any point, you just pause it. Just resume it right back when you're done. And if you want to stop it, just hit the big red button. It'll tell you your full time for the run. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Now, that's pretty much all there is to the app. Code-wise, so there were really two big chunks of what the code actually was, which was the Maps API, which is what you worked on.
Yeah. And then there was also the stopwatch portion, which Gustavo worked on.
Yes.
For the Maps API portion, we use the Google Maps API because it has a lot of really nice support for putting down markers, for finding your location, and also just the map is just very detailed. So it was like kind of a natural choice. It was very easy to work into Android Studio. The hardest part of working with the Google Maps API was actually the blue dot for your current location, which you would think would be a really easy thing to incorporate into the app. You would think that there would be a function that you could call that would just return the user's location. But in order to be able to use that, you actually have to jump through a lot of hurdles because Android is really protective of your security and your location. So, like we said earlier, normally if you started up the app for the first time, it would ask you for permission to use your location, which requires a ton of helper code. Higher up in the code, it calls a function, it calls this function here. So it has to determine whether or not it already has permission to use your location, then it has to request it, then it has to handle the response from the permission request, which was a lot more complicated than I was anticipating. But after all that work, you just get the blue dot that updates with your location.
Yeah. And I mean, going into the stopwatch portion, which is what I really worked on mostly, the way that I really went about it was I executed a runnable loop that was handled by a handler. And when called on, as you can see right there, the loop starts the stopwatch, it initiates it really, and it runs on the system clock. So it takes the system clock in milliseconds, converts everything to seconds, minutes, so forth. And really, when the button is pressed, it just calls the loop. It's pretty simple and straightforward. When you stop it, it'll stop running it, and it'll just display the time that it ended at. So further up, you can see the buttons that we coded in. We decided to use image buttons for the sake of it looking nice and cool, a lot more flashier than usual. But we used image buttons that would turn into it would display a different image once pressed, which is why the pause turns into your start once you press it, and why your start turns into your stop. So it's pretty straightforward. That's pretty much all there is to the app.
So altogether, there were some complicated parts to it, but overall, looking back on it, the app is pretty elegant, and it came out with a pretty nice UI, pretty nice result.
Yeah, we decided to keep it simple.
Yep, so Thanks for listening.